1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hey, how are you this morning? Good. What'd you move your face for? Just got out of bed, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Lane. Lane, is your sound working?
Yes, ma'am.
Good deal. Just making sure. Can you hear me? So you can hear me, okie dokie?
I can hear you.
Good. Loud and clear. Y'all ready to start back tomorrow? Or do y'all come tomorrow?
I'm coming back Tuesday.
Oh, well, hey. So you got some few extra days left,
I'll
don't you?
come tomorrow.
Got about, I think about half my classes are be here tomorrow, and the other half I'll see on Tuesday. So joy, joy. Then all my munchkins that my new ones that I'll get this time that I haven't had, they'll be come popping in. And so some of them may not even know where the music building is. They've never been here before. So I'm sure we'll have some little lost munchkins somewhere along the way, to say the least. Oh, let me wait a few extra minutes. Some of them are probably still now getting out. Oh, I've got about 2 minutes before it's 10 o'clock. Let's see how many is going to pop in. Wake up and go, oh no, I was supposed to be in a Zoom meeting. Did y'all get all your work turned in from last semester? Any other classes? Hopefully. Lane, you were muted if you said something.
All my work turned in.
Good. One thing about the high school kids, some of them are procrastinating and they are putting off. And so they were in a panic mode getting it finished up during Christmas holidays. Some still working on finishing up some of their stuff. I'm like, are you kidding me? But I think for the majority of them, I think they finally got it caught up, at least in my classes they did, which was a good thing. I never know if some of them have internet access or not, or if they've got issues with computers. Always remember that when we're out, and especially with us on this hybrid schedule and stuff, if your computer messes up or whatever, call the school because they can swap it out and everything. Don't wait around and not be able to do anything and say, well, my computer crashed or my computer messed up or whatever, and I'll get it to them so they can swap it out. Don't forget today too is pickup day for lunches and breakfasts. I think they start that at 11. and all. They're doing it today instead of yesterday, I guess because today, kind of a routine, they'll be able to swing around and get it and all. Nellie's trying to come in, but for some reason, it's not letting her join. Well, come on. Maybe she'll get in here in a minute. Okay, did everybody get on Google Classroom okay? The new one. Heidi, I know you found the new one okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Everybody done their quick checks? Because I put the second one on there day before yesterday maybe, or I may have put it on there yesterday. I think it was day before yesterday. I put number 2 on there, quick check number 2. So be sure and go in there. We'll look at that today. Those quick checks, are those helpful? Yes, no, maybe? Heidi says no. It's a good little review. They're only 3 minutes. So at least you can go back and you've got it on there. So you can go back and review it and help remember yourself, okay, this is staff, this is treble, this is bass, this is a measure, this is yada, 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 okay? So that's the purpose of me putting those on there so that you've got those and you've got those as an access to that and all, okay? All right, I'm gonna share my screen and boom, here we go. As we look here in our interactive here, let me go to this.
Every 3-minute theory lesson. All right, let's talk about some of the most fundamental parts of music notation. Now, as we zoom in here, you can clearly see that there's several different musical symbols, which we're going to get to in a second. But before we take a look at that, let's look at these different lines here. Now, these lines are pretty important because the lines make up what's called the musical staff. And the staff illustrates how high or how low different pitches are going to sound. And the staff is made up of 5 different lines and 4 spaces in between these lines, which again show us how high or how low these different pitches are going to look and sound in our sheet music. Now, what further helps categorize these different pitches are these different clefs over here. So we have 2 different clefs. We have the treble clef and the bass clef. But let's talk about this one up here first. Again, this is called the treble clef. It's not called the treble clef, but the treble clef. And this is mainly used for pitches that are on the higher end of the spectrum. So higher voices or higher sounding instruments are going to follow the treble clef. Now, another name for the treble clef is also called the G clef. You might be wondering why it sounds like such a completely different name than the treble clef. And that's a good point. But if you take a look here, the center of the treble clef is actually this little design here. And this little design circles the G line. Yes, it circles the G line of the treble clef. So that's another reason why they call this also the G clef. So it's a treble clef or G clef. And now this clef down here is a different name, and it's called the bass clef. Now, not bass like baseball, but bass clef referring to the lower frequencies or the lower pitches. And the bass clef has another name, and it is also called the F clef. Now, why is it called the F clef? Well, a similar reason to the treble clef with the circle there around the G line. The bass clef, this little dot here, actually is highlighting the F line of the bass clef. And we're going to talk about this in a little bit more in detail in a future lesson. But again, let's review. We have the staff, which is made up of 5 different lines and 4 different spaces, and it tells us how high or how low those pitches are going to sound. Then we also have 2 different clefs. We have the treble clef, or the G clef, and we have the bass clef, also known as the F clef. Great job.
Okay, so there you've got your introduction of your clefs. There you've got a reminder of that the staff is simply the 5 lines and 4 spaces. There you have realizing that the high pitches are in the treble and the low pitches are in the bass. So that's just telling you folks that girls are basically singing in the treble clef and guys are singing in the bass. Girls are singing the treble clef, guys are singing the bass clef. And that it has 2 names, the treble clef being the G clef and the bass clef having the F clef. Okay, so let's go to quick check 2. And if you haven't done that, you can do it with us now, and then you can post that you have completed that one, okay? Here we go. Now this one's going to start with 3 questions at the beginning about quick check 1.
How
Okay.
many lines make up one musical staff? How many lines make up one musical staff?
What do you think?
5.
5.
Yes, that's correct. The musical staff is made up of 5 different lines. Very good. What is another name for the bass clef? What is another name for the bass clef?
What do you think?
F clef.
There you go.
Yes, that's correct. The F clef.
Awesome.
Remember, this little marking here happens to be on the F line of the bass clef. It's also called the F clef. Very good. Which clef is usually used for higher pitched voices and instruments? Which clef is usually used for higher pitched voices and instruments?
Treble.
Yes, that is correct.
There you go.
The treble clef, also known as the G clef, is usually used for higher pitched voices and instruments. One of the main pieces of music notation that helps us organize our music is what's called measures. Now, a measure is a space between 2 bar lines. Now, if you're wondering what a bar line is, it's actually this little line right here, called a bar line. And again, this helps separate our measures. Now, a mistake that so many young musicians make is they think that a measure is the same thing as a bar line, when that's not the case. Now, these bar lines separate the measures. So a measure is really the space between 2 bar lines. Okay, again, so this is called a bar line here, a bar line here, but the measure is the space between these 2 bar lines. But what if we have multiple measures that we want to read? And what if there's multiple different instruments or different parts that are playing at the same time? What this is basically describing is what's called a musical system. A musical system is a group of several different instruments or voices that are performing at the same time. And this little bracket right here is basically organizing this system. So a system is different than a measure. For example, in this case, measure 15, as we see over here, would be this entire group of measures. But a system is a group of all of these musical instruments or voices that are performing at the same time. And what's different about this is if you happen to be a soprano following this music, instead of just reading the soprano part, and then going on to maybe the alto line, that wouldn't make sense, right? What would really happen is you would follow the music all together. So the sopranos are performing with the altos, with the baritones, and with the piano. And it's all performing at the same time. All of these different parts are performing at the same time. And this is an important distinction because so many students make this mistake, especially young musicians. They follow their part and then they think, okay, let me go down to the next line. But that wouldn't make sense because if you were a soprano, that means then you would be going from the soprano part and jumping to the alto part. That doesn't make sense. Again, because all of these parts are performing at the same time. Now, what's the difference again? Just to review, this area here is one measure. This bracket is organizing a musical system. And again, a system is a group of all of these parts. And don't forget, this line right here, it's called the bar line, right? These are bar lines, and a measure is the space between these two bar lines.
Okay, so get back here to my thing here. Hello. Oh, gotta do this. There we go. All right. So, any questions about the explanation of reading parts and knowing the difference between a single measure and a system, which is basically the entire piece is what a system is. You've got the voice part, you've got the accompaniment part, which in that case was the piano. So all of that is a system, but the measure was just that one thing. For example, on our Sylvie song that we're looking at, let me go to that right quick. Boink. And here we go. All right. When we look at this, let's look at this right here. All right. We've got this voice part, soprano 1, soprano 2, alto 1, alto 2. And when we see this entire part right here, that is one measure. This entire thing right here, these 4 lines all together is a system. So as you see here, starting at square A, you've got this, then you've got your bar line, which is dividing up the measures. Then you see this little number right here, which is a 6. That's telling me, oh, now we're on measure 6 of this piece. So as we're looking at this, do you see a part in this that is an accompaniment part? Like for instance, some type of instrument that was going to be playing along with the voices. Do you see that in this piece of music? Because we've got soprano 1, soprano 2, alto 1, alto 2. There's not one, is there? There's not an instrument part. There's not a piano part. So in this case, we call it a cappella, which means without instruments. Our voices are going to be the instruments. We're not going to have to worry about the piano playing along with us, or we're not going to have the piano to be the crutch that we're going to use to sing along with. Now, as we are learning the parts to this, yes, we'll use the piano to sing the parts to get us as we are learning those. That's one thing that'll be posted on your Google Classroom. While we're stopped here just a minute, let me remind you that when you are at school, I will be using our new fancy equipment here. recording our class time, our lessons and stuff, and then I'll be posting them that day on the Google Classroom. So say, for instance, Lane, you're not going to be here until Tuesday. You're going to be able to see Thursday's lesson and Friday's lesson on Thursday and Friday in class. And then when I see you on Tuesday, then Heidi, you're going to be able to see what we covered on Tuesday. So that's going to be happening in each of your classes. So don't think there's just going to be, okay, on Monday and Tuesday, we're going to teach this, and then we're going to teach it again on Thursday and Friday, because that's not the way it's going to work. They're going to be teaching one lesson on Monday and Tuesday, and they're not going to be doing another lesson on Thursday and Friday. So it's going to be important that you stay logged into your Google Classroom, to your emails, and check them every day and all. Now, granted, you may be reviewing some of what was done on Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, Friday in your class, but even so, that's just reinforcement. That's just helping you out of, oh, yeah, buddy. Now, I'm glad she went back over that, because that was confusing to me. But at the same time, the good thing about it being posted on Google Classroom with these lessons like this is that you can go back and you can listen to it, and you can stop and rewind and go back over as much as you need to help you out in learning this. A lot of times it's just like anything else. It's just like in learning foreign languages. It's just like doing a different equation in math, or learning a different thing in literature, or whatever. When it's a new thing, sometimes it's Greek to you. And if somebody's never read music, or never understood how to read music, or have been able to be subject to it enough that they've got it down pat, music can seem like Greek to people. So the good thing about music is that it's repetitious. You're going to always have clef signs. You're going to always have measures. You're going to always have notes. You're going to always have rest. You're going to always have time signs. You're going to always have key signs. You're going to always have dynamics. So it's repetition, and it helps in getting used to doing different rhythms and stuff. Now, in our song, Sylvie, Bring Me a Little Water, Sylvie, who can tell me who they think Sylvie is and why she's bringing a bucket of water? What do you think? Any guesses? No guesses of who Sylvie might be and why she's bringing a bucket of water? Well, you know, this is starting our unit on folk music. And when we're dealing with folk music, those folk songs evolve from the cotton patches, the cornfields, the barn milking the cow, the house where the mother was cooking bread, or cooking, or washing on the old scrub boards and number 2 wash tubs. I mean, they just, from the front porch at nighttime when they were all gathered together after supper time. So these songs sometimes are nonsense songs, but as you see there, bring me a little water, Sylvie. Bring me a little water now. Bring me a little water, Sylvie, every little once in a while. Well, supposedly, as you see up there, the guy who wrote this, Hootie W. Ledbetter, otherwise known as Lead Belly. Now, he got that nickname. They say he got it when he was in jail, because he was in prison a lot with selling moonshine. But he would have, they said it possibly may have been a nickname given to him because of the lead in his stomach from buckshot, or that he was a strong person, Or, they just gave all these different things of how he got. So nobody really knows how he got his nickname Lead Belly. But do you know what the word pseudonym means? Pseudonym. Have you had that in English yet? You have homonyms and antonyms and synonyms. And so do you know what a pseudonym is? Lane, if you're talking, you're muted, hon.
No, ma'am.
All right. When you have a pseudonym, let me ask you this. Do you know another name for Samuel Clemens in literature? Have you ever heard of Mark Twain? Well, Mark Twain is the pseudonym for Samuel Clemens. A lot of authors would write books under another name. It wouldn't be their real name. For instance, my name, Miss Bewalk. That's not my real name. That's not what I was born with. I was born with Rebecca Ann Knight. Then I got married, and so I became Rebecca Ann Knight Walker. And so then I go by Becky Walker. But my first year of teaching, I was given a nickname, BWalk, and it stood for, and it was during the time of the Ewoks. And so BWOK stood for Becky Walker's OK. So that's been stuck with me for 43 years of my teaching. And more people know me as Miss Bewalk than they do my real name. So I guess Bewalk is kind of like a pseudonym for me, for my name, for my real name. Well, let me let you hear what Bring Me Little Sylvie sounds like with Lead Belly singing it.
Sylvie, what? Bring a little water, please, bring a little water. Bring a little water, please, every little once in a while. Bring a little water, please, bring a little water. Bring a little water, please, every little once in a while. Don't you see me coming? Don't you see me now? Don't you see me coming? Every once in a while. Bring me bucket, Sylvie. Bring me bucket now. Bring me bucket, Sylvie. Every once in a while. Bring the water, Sylvie. Bring the water now. Bring the water, Sylvie. Every once in a while. Every once in a while. Every once in a while.
Now, Lead Belly, supposedly his wife was named Sylvie. And so when he would be working in the fields, he'd get hot and he'd get thirsty and he'd say, Sylvie, bring me a little water. Bring it to me now. Sylvie, bring me a little water now. Sylvie, bring me a little water now. And so it got to the point that he would say it so much that they turned it into a little song. So that's how that folk song came about, of Bring Me a Little Water, Sylvie, of him working in the fields and him hollering at her to bring him some cool water out of the well. Well, what kind of instrument did you hear that was being played with him? There was one instrument. What do you think? What?
A banjo?
Close. What do you think? What's another string instrument?
A guitar?
A guitar, yeah, a guitar, good. So the guitar is what they used there. Now, there's a lot, like we showed And in the last Zoom that we had, where we had harmonica, banjo, guitar, and sometimes people use the spoons. They'll use an old jug and blow on it, if you watch, Andy Griffin, and you got the Darlings on there, and they've got the big string bass guitar, and they've got the jug playing, and they've got the juice harp and all, and they're just playing up a storm on that stuff. Well, the arrangement we're doing is by Mariah Smiley, and we're going to use instruments, but we're going to use body percussion. Now, body percussion is where you literally use your body to be a percussion instrument. You can snap, you can clap, you can pat your leg, you can stomp your foot. And in this body percussion, we're doing a rhythm pattern. Now, the difference, remember, between beat and rhythm, our beat is our steady pulse, okay? Our rhythm is the combination of notes and rests put together. It's kind of like little patterns that they will use, maybe clapping twice or clapping once and resting, kind of like when we do the pie game and we're doing pie, pie, apple pie, strawberry pie, coconut pie. And we're doing different rhythm patterns to the beat that we are clapping with, okay? That steady pulse there. So what we're going to be doing is doing body percussion while we're singing. So that's going to be our instruments, our voice, and our body percussion. So I guess we're going to see how coordinated we are or uncoordinated we are when we're doing this. But I think it's going to be fun to do. So I want to show you this. This is an honor choir that Mariah Smiley put together, and they are doing the body percussion that we're going to be doing along with singing the song. Water, Sylvie, bring me little water now. Bring me little water, Sylvie, every little once in a while. Bring me little bucket, Sylvie, bring it in a bucket now. Bring it in a bucket, Sylvie, every little once in a while. Sylvie, come running, bucket in my hand. I will bring a little water fast as I can. Oh, bring me little water, Sylvie, bring it in a water now. Bring me little water, Sylvie, every little once in a while. Can you hear me coming? Can you see me now? I will bring a little water every little once in a while. Now she's getting softer. Every little once in a while, every little once in a while. Hey, little one, sit up. Okay, now, did that scare you? I hope not, because it's going to be a fun thing to learn. And I'm going to put on our Google Classroom, slow step by step, the choreography, just like when we learned our sign language last semester. We put that up there so that you have it to practice with, so that you can practice in the privacy of your room or in your bathroom or wherever, so nobody can see you. And then as we get together, and then, you know, it's just like anything. You'll learn part of it, and then there's one section that you just, oh man, I mess that up every time. And so you're able to break it down, and we're able to work at it together to get that smoothed out so that we know where we're going to land when we finish up and do it all together now. So that being said, a reminder to check that Google Classroom every day, check your email every day and all, because with my class, there's not that much written stuff. Very little written stuff is on there because we're a hands-on class. We're kind of like a lab in music, okay? We learn the different things and then we apply it to our singing voices, to our signing, to our body percussion. Okay? Don't forget your mask tomorrow. Those that are coming tomorrow and those that are coming Tuesday, don't forget your mask. And I just can't wait to see y'all. I am so ready to see y'all in person instead of on the computer. Ooh, you know, if I've decided that if I had to be on a computer all day, every day, like I've had to do since we've been in this crazy time, these past 9 months, I do believe I probably would not go into teaching if I had to teach this way, because it's crazy. You don't get to really get to know your kids because all you do is see them in a square, you know, and it's just so much fun when you're in person. Okay, so I will see you tomorrow, right, Heidi? And Lane, I'll see you Tuesday, right? Great. Y'all have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.